This is my story. Listen, I used to live this crazy life, partied all the time, did drugs, all this sort of stuff, lived for it. That was, I loved it. It was so much fun. And here's the thing, if you would have come up to me and told me that I was in the dark, I was spiritually dead, I would have been like, dude, you're crazy. What are you talking about? I'm not dead. I'm more alive than I've ever been. I'm having a blast. This is super fun. I'm not walking in the dark until, here's what happened. A buddy of mine, he invited me to go to church with him one Sunday. And so of course I'm out partying the night before. And so but I told him I would go. And so I show up and I'm super hungover, man. Like I've got just a splitting headache. I feel horrible, mixed some stuff that shouldn't have been mixed. And I show up in church in that state and I go and I sit in and they've got the music going and the preaching going and all of this sort of stuff. And I'm sitting there and all of a sudden it hit me that I felt different. It was like I was seeing light for the first time. I didn't know how to explain it, but I realized in that moment that my soul was longing for something that I was only ever going to find in Jesus. And so God began to do a work in my life. And over a very short period of time, man, all I did was I wanted to just read my Bible in a coffee shop. I literally, man, went from drug deals the week before to now I'm sitting in a coffee shop with my Bible, reading it for 8 hours a day. How do you explain that? That's crazy. What happened? Jesus stepped into my life and I realized that I was in darkness. Now, here's the thing. Many of you grew up in church and maybe you walked away and you're kind of just getting your toes wet in church community, and maybe you're new here and this is your first time kind of engaging with any kind of church content in years. I'm so glad that you're here. Let me tell you why Christianity potentially didn't work for you, at least a part of the issue or even the main issue, is because this is how you thought being a Christian was, what it was all about, is you have to try really hard to be the light. You have to do certain things, X amount of good deeds. You got to grit your teeth. You got to try really hard to beat this sin thing. And if you don't do it on your own, if you don't do a certain amount of good deeds, you don't live a certain way, you're kicked out and it didn't work. It didn't transform you. So you got burned out and you walked away. Why? What happened? You fell into a kind of religious moralism that is anti-gospel, anti what's actually happening right here and what Jesus is talking about.